Once a person has become an entrepreneur, the urge to do something of your own, it doesn't go away that easily.
फर्स्ट टाइम ऑथर को कम क्यों मिल रहा है? क्योंकि उसको बहुत मेहनत करनी पड़ रही है, बट 9 to 5 ऑफिस जॉब नहीं करनी है। 9 to 5 ऑफिस जॉब नहीं करनी, 30 साल 25 साल कर लिया।
I just asked myself, what is it that I like? The natural answer for that was to write.
It's about good value proposition. घर चलाने जितने तो पैसे नहीं होंगे। अगर आपने 10,000 कॉपी बेची है लास्ट 5 साल में, 20 रुपए पर कॉपी मिलता है, so that is what 2 लाख रुपए, and you are earning that every 2 weeks.
मत बनो ऑथर।
Writing is not like a factory, right? Or it's not like a consulting project. कि client आ गया तो चलो अभी PPT बनाना है और चलो भागते हैं उस
I'm really waiting to jump into your last 4 or 5 years of authoring. वो कैसे हुआ? What was your personal story behind it? What was happening in the world? You were in the hub of it. You were in machine learning, analytics, and so on. And then you decided to give it up and say कि मैं तो अब लिखूंगा.
See, once a person has become an entrepreneur, the urge to do something of your own, it may be a business, it may be a creative pursuit, or it may be just anything else, it doesn't go away that easily. So I was always a writer. I used to write on even when I was working. I actually had a blog since almost 2010. A
Do you
blog.
still have that blog?
Yes, I haven't kept most of the writing there alive because some of it has now been published as books. So my publisher basically said that don't keep it on the blog because it's in your book.
Yes.
But the blog is still there. The content, I used to have close to 400, 500 posts that I have should have been by now. But then I think some of it has got converted into a book. That was actually my first book. It was a non-fiction book which I got published even when I was working at my corporate job. So I used to be a writer since then, and then I had created a few characters. I had started building a certain amount of financial independence for myself even while I was corporate working. So I waited for the right time.
बट 9 to 5
But
ऑफिस जॉब नहीं
majority of
करनी है।
the
9 to 5 ऑफिस जॉब
नहीं,
नहीं
corporate job
करनी,
नहीं।
30 साल 25 साल कर लिया। एंड देन ऑथर, क्रिएटिविटी की तो बहुत सारी चीजें भी हैं। यू कुड हैव स्टार्टेड अ यूट्यूब चैनल लाइक अस।
I just asked myself what is it that I liked, and the natural answer for that was to write. And I realized that if I want to do things over a long period of time, let's say 10 years, then fiction was the most satisfying part of it.
So Ranjit, if I understand as the definitions go, fiction is when you make up a story, and non-fiction is
That's right.
when you make up facts.
Yeah, you basically write based on certain messages that you want to convey, or yeah, basically it is not a made up story, it's a real story.
And in fiction, do you have did you take time to decide what kind of fiction? Because fiction तो कुछ भी हो सकता है. It could be a murder mystery, it could be a science fiction, it could be whatever.
So my first attempt was actually I wrote a novel first with Jigneshbhai and Swami. But later on, I actually realized that I'm better off writing shorter fiction. So I started writing short stories in around 2021 or so. And then I also write short stories which don't have these characters. These are just random short stories based on various themes. So, like for example, I have written a set of short stories on travel. There's a set of short stories on apartment living. Some kind of theme.
अच्छा, give us your insight on apartment living. आपने क्या वो जो इंडिया का कि चीनी खत्म हो गई है, दूध खत्म हो गया, बगल से ले आते थे और बगल के घर के बच्चे दूसरे घर में
So I this was inspired by some ideas during COVID where all of us were stuck at home for a year or so.
So, Ranjit, what is the economics of writing fiction in India?
If one were to compare it with an MBA career, then it's not as lucrative as an MBA career. Definitely not.
क्या बात कर रहे हो?
Uh,
स्टीफन किंग, if you become Stephen King, उसका कितनी रॉयल्टी आती है?
So the way it works is that in in an MBA career, your upside is limited, but your downside is also limited, right? In a creative career like writing, your downside could be potentially unlimited, but your upside could also be potentially.
But
If
you're
if
talking
you
as
are
an author,
financially free
right? You're talking
as
as
an
an
author.
author, not as a publisher.
So
But
as
as
an
an author
author,
की किताब लिखी तो क्या मिलेगा? Like Vix is asking कि what is the economics कि अगर अच्छी चली, how does the royalty work?
I have a combination of books that are published by other publishers and books that are published by myself, like self-published.
So other
So
publishers में कैसे
self-published.
चलता है? That you've written a
So
book
other publishers, the royalties are typically around anywhere between 7.5 to 12% per sale
of
of the
what?
book, of the selling price
Like
of the book,
MRP, yeah, of the
MRP.
MRP.
And what is that percentage? Is it like 10% or 50%?
For most first-time authors, it's somewhere between 8 to 12%, as I said.
आपकी बुक की क्या प्राइस है? 100 rupees or more?
It can be anywhere from 200 to 300 rupees. If you're publishing on your own, then the royalties increase.
फिर तो आप अपनी लेफ्ट पॉकेट से राइट पॉकेट में डाल रहे हो ना?
Basically, then Amazon or the distributor basically gives you the royalty, not the publisher.
This is what I understand कि एक बुक है वो मार्केट में, दैट्स द एंड प्रोडक्ट, एंड वो बुक को छापने में कुछ तो लगा है, उसका पूरा सप्लाई चेन में कुछ तो लगा है. दैट इज
Right.
नन ऑफ योर कंसर्न, रंजीत, राइट?
That is none
और
of my
आप वो बुक
concern.
शेल्फ
If
पे भी
I
पहुंच गई है, वो पब्लिशर के रिलेशन से पहुंची है या नहीं पहुंची है, कितना बड़ा
right,
पब्लिशर है और कितना छोटा है, उस पे डिपेंड करता है. फर्स्ट टाइम ऑथर को कम क्यों मिल रहा है? क्योंकि उसको बहुत मेहनत करनी पड़ रही है. अब अगर आप स्टीफन किंग हो, जेके राउलिंग हो, या और नेम योर ओन फेवरेट ऑथर, अमिताभ घोष हो या कुछ भी है, उसको तो सिर्फ ना वो दुकान को बताना है, रेलवे स्टेशन में भी नॉट, बट एयरपोर्ट स्टोर को बताना है कि यार ये वाली बुक है, इसको रख लेना, वो अपने आप ही सबसे आगे रखेंगे. तो आपका नाम बिक रहा है. अगर आपका नाम ही बिक रहा है और पब्लिशर को मेहनत ही कम करनी पड़ रही है, तो वो उसके कॉस्ट कम है. अगर उसके कॉस्ट कम है, वो आपको ज्यादा रेवेन्यू का परसेंटेज देंगे. इट्स आई थिंक ये वो डिमांड सप्लाई इकोनॉमिक्स है.
Have you sold 10,000 copies or more than 10,000 copies?
all my books combined somewhere, maybe, yeah, I have. So there are, see, what happens is typically if you are a writer of only one book, na, see, it's not a very sustainable business for an author, right? I mean, you need to have financial freedom to even continue doing that. Most authors, what they do is they typically keep writing over a long period of time. Now, in my case, for example, there's one book, The Bend in the Road, which is a travel-based book, a collection of stories around a road trip. That sells more than 50% of all my books, basically. So that is my best seller, kind of, one can say.
What I'm trying to understand is कि you were earning 2 lakhs every 2 weeks probably when you were working for your consulting career, and now you're saying कि boss, I've sold 10,000 books.
So if it is money that you are going to write for, then it's not a good value proposition to become an author.
Forget about good
Money
value
only.
proposition. घर चलाने जितने तो पैसे नहीं होंगे. अगर आपने 10,000 कॉपी बेची है लास्ट 5 साल में, 20 रुपए पर कॉपी मिलता है, so that is what 2 लाख रुपए, and you were earning that every 2 weeks.
Correct. So you don't really make a lot of money as an author from just the book sales.
ऑलरेडी सेड दैट वेक्स कि मत बनो ऑथर, मतलब ओनली आफ्टर यू क्रॉस लेवल 2 बनो.
Writing is not like a factory, right? Or it's not like a consulting project कि client आ गया तो चलो अभी PPT बनाना है और चलो भागते हैं उसके पीछे. Okay? Writing needs some inner, if you have turmoil within your head because you are not making money out of that writing, it will affect your writing. So don't write only for money. Definitely not for money. If your primary objective is to do a bestseller and replace your MBA salary with writing, you are going down a hole that will not get filled that easily. Let me warn you that. Having been there, done that, I'm 52 years old now. So please take that advice.